Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateblo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation. Before I introduce our speaker, a few points to note. Please submit your question. You can submit your questions for the presenter in the question box to the left of the slides. Additionally, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I am very pleased to welcome Blake Hylands, Chief Executive of Lithium Ionic Corp, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol LTHCF and on the TSX-V under the symbol LTH. Welcome, Blake.
Thank you very much, Matt, and thank you everybody who is attending now and tuned in to listen. So I'll jump right into it. We have a pretty exciting project here. It is a Brazilian-based lithium project called Lithium Ionic. It is in the drilling phase and soon to be resource phase project. And without further ado, I'll get right into it. Pass through the cautionary notes as we all love to do, and start off talking about the project and its location. So we're in the Minas Gerais state of Brazil, prolific mining region, well known for being one of the most important mining regions of South America, certainly Brazil, and currently where some of the more significant hard rock lithium projects are currently producing and soon to be producing. We are in a geological basin called the East Brazilian Pegmatite Belt. It is, other than probably Western Australia, an emerging belt that is maybe one of the most important for spodumene-based hard rock lithium. And we have over 2,000 hectares in this morning. We actually added almost double that through some land acquisition that we are going through right now, which is a big part of what our mandate is right now with a local and well-experienced team that certainly knows the area very well with over 80 years of experience on the ground. We'll look to continue to pick up as much of this prolific mining belt as possible. We are in an area that is certainly defined by some of the highest quality and certainly battery quality lithium hydroxide material in the world. Very low in iron content, very low mica content, ideal for what the new high efficiency batteries of this world are looking for. We are trying to advance a project quickly. We want to tap into a global supply chain cycle that is very fertile right now. I think anybody who has looked into the lithium space and certainly understands where the electric vehicle space is going, and certainly the battery space as well, and lithium, of course, a key component in all of that. And as there's a global initiative to move towards green energy and green alternatives, certainly lithium is on the forefront. We're about halfway through a 30,000 meter drill program, aiming for a maiden resource in Q1 of next year. We have an internal goal of sort of 15 to 20 million tons. We believe that the right way to approach this is to keep a scale that is certainly achievable, rapidly, economic, showing excellent potential return, and also to be able to permit quite quickly as well. And we have the luxury of being directly south of one of the only two producing hard rock lithium assets in Brazil, CBL. It's a private company, family run, 36,000 tons of concentrate per annum, a small producer that's been producing for over 30 years and actually has a small carbonate and hydroxide plant in country. So we know how well the rocks behave on a downstream model. And then on the upstream side, we have an exploration moving to production company that is a little more well known on the public scene in Sigma Lithium, which is touching the boundaries of this project and certainly was claim staked at the same time as ours, with now over 85 million tons defined and a $5 billion market cap. I'm speaking in Canadian dollars, but an amazing asset that has gone from initial drilling in 2018 to what will be first production on over 200,000 tons per annum by January of next year. So We have great proof of concept around us, and we are sort of trying to advance our project quickly enough to catch this cycle and also show the exploration upside and growth potential through exploration. I won't spend too much time on the team. Myself, I am the CEO of the company, geologist by background, experience in both exploration and capital markets. Most of my time has been spent in precious metals, but a bit in iron ore and in the ag space as well. A little bit in base metals too around the world, but I would rather focus on our local team, Helio Diniz, Carlos Costa. They are based in Bello in the Minas Gerais state. They are Mineiros. They know the area very, very well. It's these guys that head up our community team that give us a local advantage to be able to find new ground, to also have been able to pick up this ground in the first place, and certainly the exploration and development expertise with over 40 years of experience in this belt to take a project from grassroots, greenfields, exploration and drilling all the way through permitting and bankable feasibility into construction and obviously operations. So we're very, very fortunate to have an excellent local team focused in Brazil, and they are certainly executing a pretty spectacular drill program right now. A little over 100 million shares outstanding, about $35 million cash in the bank, market cap over 200 million now, but $215 million. We started trading publicly in May of this year. We came out at 70-cent valuation, or $70 million overall. So we've had a strong year of trading. Certainly started very, very hot in the lithium space. It's been an interesting year for certainly what the outlook is going to be on lithium and the macro of the space. But we've performed well in that. And I think we're going to continue to see that to grow as we go forward. I think we probably trade very well to our competitors and probably are on a fast track to well exceed these current valuations. So there are catalysts coming, and we expect to move very well. We trade roughly $1 million worth of stock a day. We're about half institutionally held and half retail held. So we're well traded and well covered. Written on by Claris and Cormark, both as emerging ideas, if anyone's looking for additional information. Mentioned that we're in the Minas Gerais state, so one of the most important regions of Brazil, a prolific mining region, certainly known for permitting and advancing projects forward in the iron ore space, nickel, many other elements, and more recently in lithium. Brazil has recognized the opportunity here, and that they have a unique basin, unlike many others, but certainly analogous to what you'd see in the Pilbara region. And what they've understood is that the chemical plant opportunity is years down the line, that they must take advantage of the market now and a very well-priced spodumene market. So they have been very supportive of exporting concentrate. We're located very close to a town of about 40,000 people. Project's about a 30-40 minute drive from that town. We've seen the government step out of the way of a lot of the bureaucracy from export that they would put on something like uranium. They've reduced some of the tax implication and certainly been able to fast track a project, again, pointing to a project like Sigma, who was able to go from initial drill hole in 2018, fully constructed this month and into production next year. Very much the business model we're working on. Full hydropower, excellent road access, everything you would need, and of course a community that's supportive in building the project, which is key for us, and certainly would help us advance the project forward with also a fairly low impact to environment. This is the first opportunity we get to look in this presentation at some of the geology that makes this unique. So some of the feedback I get a lot in the lithium and the macro space is that there's lithium everywhere, and these things are all going to come online in 2024 and 2025, and that we're going to see a massive influx of new projects that have been discovered and developed, and they're going to feed all these brand new chemical plants that are being built all over the world. And the reality, it takes a very long time for new chemical plants to be built, and that they are being moved forward. And the other reality is that not all these projects are going to come online, and that they're not all made equal, and that not all lithium is made equal. And there are very unique belts. Western Australia is one. This is another one, East Brazilian pegmatite, and it's really driven by these specialized granites in the image that you're looking at They are in the pinks and orange, or reds and orange. They are unique granites, and they pose from them some pretty interesting pegmatites that cool quite rapidly. Their crystals form quite massively, and so this belt has really been characterized by gemstones and dimension stones for the last 100 years because of the rapid rate of cooling and crystal size and structure that are seen in this area. So to give an example, the amethysts and the epidotes and the feldspars, the crystals of the world are extremely large, and they actually have helped to, or have contributed to, some of the gemstone culture of Brazil as well. I think some people may have seen toucans propped on amethyst gemstones and things like that. And this is really comes from this basin, been a well-mined basin for over 100 years. We'll see spodumene crystals, which of course carries the lithium, for hard rock lithium, that can be as big as from the floor to my rib cage. It's not uncommon in drill core to see forearm size spodumene crystals, where in other parts of the world you're looking for hand lens microscopic size spodumene and how you're going to produce that. A lot of other deleterious materials like iron content, things with petalite, lepidolite, etc. So what we see is very clean, low iron content, low mica, kind of the ideal new battery hydroxide material you would look for from hard rock. So not all projects are created equally. They're not all going to come online at the same time. That's just not going to happen. And we have kind of proof of concept that a project of this scale can come online very, very quickly. Like I said, Sigma being able to do it in just 4 years and through a global pandemic, we think we can catch up quite quickly. On this screen as well, you can see the darker squares. Those are our claims. We're surrounded entirely by basically staked ground by different. And then there are several other smaller companies who have either run dimension stone projects, or they may be land holders in the area that we are working with currently to try to acquire more ground. So very, very well developed area. What we see on this image is the light green are pegmatite showings. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pegmatite showings. Soils, trenching are really the way to explore in this area, where they are everywhere, really. Geophysics is not a good source for showing pegmatite mineralization. We get excellent high-grade lithium in soils. We follow that up with trenching and drilling, and I'll show some of that as we go forward. The light blue content are high-grade soils on some of our claim boundaries. Our focus has been on two areas, one called Bandera, and a little bit on an area called Galvani, which we acquired later. And I'll step into some more detail with those as we go along here. Great. So here's a slide showing the announcement this morning of ground we've picked up. So jumping from the previous slide we had, you can see that we've picked up a pretty significant land package. Our area 4 showing really high grade soils. We've picked up extensions beyond that. One thing about our local team, they've been able to gain access to the ground, have a look for potential ground pegmatites, and then we've signed agreements that basically leave no encumbrances on the ground and give us an opportunity to walk across them, look for pegmatites, look for potential mineralization. If we see that, we want to act on that ground. I credit the team to the ability to strike deals with local community members. It's really based on trust, and they certainly have done that. Anybody who's worked in South America would understand that trust is a huge part of actually getting deals done. And so we're not done yet. We'll continue to look for more opportunities, but we're very, very excited about these new land holdings. Bit of a look here at how close we are to a producing asset. I mean, extremely important for anybody who knows, how much you want to be able to say and point to projects that work, metallurgy that works, the ability to find more exploration techniques that can develop these projects quicker. We are very close. And beyond just that on this slide, I think what we like to show here is no major land use issues, no major indigenous issues, no major social issues. Again, quick to permitting on a properly scaled project. They're not making extra virgin olive oil in this area, right? It's fairly flat-lying, no major high yield farming or anything like that. And in the distance, you can see some of the mountain range. Those are those granites that plumb the system. So we started the project almost a $2 stock and continue to grow. We have many catalysts coming along the way, including a resource, engineering, scoping, permitting, potential support from either OEMs or strategic partners that will likely happen in the coming year. But we want to be sitting here at this point next year with a robust resource that's exceeded 20 million tons, and certainly with hopefully a permit in hand to start constructing a concentrate facility. So we think we can move quite rapidly to that. We already started all the baseline work and studies earlier this year for obviously seasonal sensitivity to some of that baseline work. So we're well on our way in for permitting. So we feel very confident we're going to be able to deliver on all of our objectives in the coming year. Just an example of some of the grade we see and certainly what the widths we're expecting. So in our Galvani area, we've had very limited work. We drilled it as part of a due diligence process. When we acquired it, we need to do more work there and go back. But we saw some very, very interesting widths, 30, 40 meter widths, 1.5 to 2% lithium dioxide. I mean, it's just fantastic, high grade, well mineralized, interesting widths. There's more work to be done there, but we think we've already defined quite a fair bit and over a reasonable strike length. Currently more focused on an area we call Bandera, which is sandwiched between Sigma's 25 million ton Barrero deposit and CBL's 30-year producing deposit to the north. In there, we see several sort of anastomosing pegmatite vein sets that basically kind of repeat and stack onto each other. So in a 100-meter drill hole, top to bottom, you might have 20, 25 meters of mineralization broken up here and there by 3 or 4 meters of schist in between. And so what we see in there, again, very high grade, 1.5 to 2% type grades. In this case, you might see 5 meters and then a break, and then 7 meters and then a break, and then 3 meters. So extremely well mineralized and very, very interesting. And we think we're going to be able to grow resource very, very rapidly in Bandera. And then in the other areas, like areas 2, 3, 4, and 5, we are in the process of moving excavators there to trench and develop further to find new targets. In our opinion, and this is a zoom in on Bandera, you can see how some of those veins behave and some of the grades that come out of them. But in our opinion, the way to move forward is outline a resource of economic value quickly. Catch the cycle now, push a project forward that's scalable and scaled to be permitted. Fill in with resources behind that. We think we can grow massive resources very, very quickly. Again, we feel like it's a belt that is gonna start competing with some of the other, green bushes and Pilbara regions of the world, underexplored, underdeveloped, but will rapidly catch up. If we can do that, we think we can show a lot of corporate growth and market value very, very quickly, as well as show a long life path of production, really when we target for, let's say, a 2024 production, 2025 production, when really the expectation of demand, the expectation of supply will be there. It won't be there. Demand will still be very, very high, and we're going to catch the market at the perfect time. So we're in great shape right now. Just a bit of a look at what we see from pegmatites. We used to use this slide a lot more often when we didn't have assays early on, just proving that it's there. Again, if you were to look very, very closely, you could see some of the large spodumene crystals within that pegmatite. But it's you're either in it or you're not. It's pretty simple exploration, simple processing, low cost to build, and certainly what we expect to do going forward. We like showing this slide more so just to talk about not a lot of overburden, 2 to 3 meters total, easy to get down, trench onto these pegmatites. We'll see lithium values. Once we know that the values are there, we drill underneath, and it's worked extremely well at outlining significant deposits. When I look at areas 2 and 3, we get pretty excited. 4 and 5 is actually the same way. We've just used these two as the example. But if you were in Western Australia, if you're in the Pilbara region, you saw 100 ppm lithium in soils, you get excited, you trench, you dig, you drill. It's not uncommon to see 400 or 500 ppm in soils here. So very, very interesting. Again, everywhere we seem to open with trenching, even related to the soils and even beyond the soils. We're getting new pegmatites, new showings, new opportunities. It's really pretty spectacular to see a belt like this with this kind of scale opportunity. Looking a little bit closer at Galvani, the actual showing is called Ultralotto. Typically, how we've been doing these deals, like I said, is to put a little bit of a cash component, call it, $100,000 or a couple $100,000 to be able to access the ground and do due diligence work like we did here at Ultralotto. And then when we get to a point where we feel like either the property is worth executing on a cash payment, or whether in a case like this morning, we've outlined something over 3 million tons or 5 million tons or whatever it is we've set out, then we'll exercise with more cash to buy the property with no royalties or encumbrances on them as well. So it's worked out very well in that, it's low cost to do the testing and to do the work. It gives us an opportunity to build a relationship with the claim holder and the landowner, as well as try to create some value there as well for them and for us. And we're going to continue to do that in a belt that is, quite honestly, despite the plan of a Sigma to come online and be, call it a 500,000 ton per year producer of 1.5% lithium dioxide or 5.5 to 6% con. It's still a highly underexplored, underdeveloped belt, and should be recognized as one of the premier lithium belts in the world in the near future. So very unique opportunity. As we look at Galvani closer, you can see some of those widths. Our understanding of exactly what's happening here with the geometry is not perfect. We're still working on it and getting a handle on what the direction is of this deposit. We've seen massive widths, in some cases 46 plus meters of 1.5% lithium dioxide. Now, when we look at this, we think there's a real upside here in that the orientation was misunderstood previously, that the grades are still excellent. There are channel samples at surface running a meter of 3%. It's pretty spectacular to see that high graded nature, and just beautiful, well-formed spodumene crystals. There's more work to be done here. We're going to get back in this area, but we think we've already outlined a fairly significant resource to date, and looking to have that out in Q1 of next year. So a lot of times I get a question, what's the strategy? What are you going to do? And I've talked about it a little bit here, but part of what the strategy is, and I hate giving a presentation that talks entirely about Sigma, but I think that they've done excellent work. And when you look at the phase one of what they're proposing, it really comes from a deposit called Shusho, which is roughly a 20 million ton deposit. And in that, they outlined previously a pretty significant economic model off of phase one, which would be roughly 20 million tons. They used a $1,900 spodumene price, which is extremely conservative to today's spot pricing, and even auction pricing looks more like $7,000 to $8,000 a ton. So using $1,900 a ton came up with some of the economics you're seeing here. So just over 200,000 tons per annum produced of concentrate produces a post-tax NPV of almost $2 billion and a post-tax IRR of 450%. Those are unbelievable numbers. As a person who's worked in the precious metal space for a long time, that would be like finding a 30 gram per ton, 30 million ounce deposit somewhere in the world. That would be quite the discovery. They're very low cost of capital to build. Whether it's 150 million to 200 million to build. Again, simple mining, not a lot of long lead items, very, very easy to get up and running and quite quickly. I shouldn't say too easy. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work that goes into these things, but certainly not something like building a massive flotation plant or something that you would see in the precious metal space or the copper space, base metal space, I should say. So in a situation like this, there is an opportunity to be producing and show strong economics very, very quickly. So we think we can get to a place where we are scaled to a phase one Sigma. We can show the engineering and economics behind that. We can scope on that, permit behind that, and then ultimately push forward on a project build that looks very much like their phase one. And at the same time, in the background, be growing a resource of significant scale on property that we think is extremely fertile. So very, very interesting times, early, but ramping up quite quickly. Wrap that up again, 30,000 meter drill program underway, regional exploration work ongoing, looking for new opportunities and new pegmatites, new spodumene showing. Inaugural resource Q1 of next year. We'll scope that, permit that, push that forward, and aim for construction in the following year. Environmental and impact work is already underway, and certainly social license work is underway as well. And the engineering work is also underway, and metallurgical work too. So again, it helps having proof of concept north and south and all around you. So we're going to definitely draft off a lot of that. Pretty simple story, and why I like telling it. It's a market with extremely high demand. Supply is not there and won't be there. Projects like this will be in high demand due to the high quality and high grade. We are in a unique basin, geological basin, with massive scale and opportunity upside. We have a team that can actually execute on picking up the ground and growing the ground in this area, and certainly has the expertise to go from drilling through engineering, permitting, and through construction and operation. Local, massive experience in the area. We want to propose a project with low capex, low opex, great economics in a mining friendly jurisdiction. Pretty simple story, and I personally prefer a simple story. So that's it. I'm available anytime. I'll try to grab a couple questions here, but let me go through those quick because I don't think I have too much time left. I see you acquired additional claims today. What is the strategy and plans for these new claims? Yeah, great question. So I think for us, what we've seen is broad soils and then tighter resolution soils going to trenching and drilling has worked extremely well to show pegmatites and mineralization opportunity. They're going to be part of our broader growth objective, where we think we want to tie up as much of this belt as we can. We believe in the scalability and camp scale of what we're seeing. We're going to have a soon-to-be massive producer beside us. We have a producer to the north of us. Everywhere we go, we continue to see pretty interesting mineralized pegmatites. So these will be part of our sort of ongoing growth. Clearly, we saw things, and our team saw things of potential and interest on that ground. So we are going to get to soiling and trenching on those as quickly as possible. Again, we're trying to put out a resource that we can build things around, but they will be part of a broader exploration plan as we go forward. Has your Itinga project been mined previously? No, so not specifically mined for lithium. There are some Garimpeiro, older kind of artisanal workings on some of these properties, and really all over this area. Like I said earlier on in the presentation, this is a 100-year-old plus belt. It's been known for gemstone and dimension stone for over 100 years. So there are interesting showings, and certainly those were some of the initial targets for all companies in this area that were interested in working for lithium, because of course the massive pegmatite or massive spodumene crystal structures that these pegmatites host are very apparent as you look at some of those old artisanal workings. So not mined specifically for lithium, very small Garimpeiro stuff. There's nothing active now, except for, of course, CBL to the north. Nothing on our claims. No. So that's as much as I see for questions, and I think I'm almost out of time. So I'll leave it there, and I thank everybody for listening and their interest, and I'm also available anytime